Welcome to Coffee Africa number 2. So here's what we're going to do.
Okay, TikTokers. Right off the bat, this is probably going to be a three-parter, and I'm probably going to get some smoke, so before you get stupid and bring any smoke to me, I don't do battles with keyboard warriors. I send warnings, not invitations. If you show up at my front door, I will not be held responsible for your health or your well-being. Now, an FYP thing came across that said how overrated Muhammad Ali was. Alright? So, again, to that creator, I had an issue with your post or whatever, and I seem to see that we had the same problem with Bruce Lee for us martial artists. And so I'm going to say this respectfully, pompously, and this is for educational purposes only, so that you don't have to get educated by martial artists' educated feet. 1. If you think the following sports and the athletes that participate in them is overrated, or if you think that you can handle somebody in said sport, go get in the ring. So if you think UFC champions or any martial art champions or wrestling or any of that shit is overrated, stop talking. Go fight one of them. Go get in the ring, sign all the waivers, do whatever the hell you need to do, and then go test your theory. Because, see, this thing came up about Muhammad Ali. I'm not a boxing fan, but I know who Muhammad Ali is. You know, I know Will Smith played him. I know George Foreman, Muhammad Ali. I know all of them. I'm 49 years old. I know who they are. Boxing has never been my thing. I'm more of a Hurt Perez and WMAC Masters kind of guy. I'm also more of the other said martial artists like Gary Daniels and Chuck Jeffries. You know, those guys. And Cynthia Rothrock. And I can almost guarantee you may think that even Billy Blanks might be a little bit overrated, but I guarantee you that you're not going to step up to them and say that shit to their face. Which leads to my point about some of us who are also martial artists who kind of say the same thing about Bruce Lee, who was not allowed to defend himself, how Bruce Lee was just an actor, blah, 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 blah. But y'all didn't ask the people who Bruce Lee actually kicked ass, you know. Y'all didn't ask none of them. Y'all just want to chalk it up to, oh, he's just an actor, etc., because he's not a fighter, because he never got the opportunity to actually fight back in the day. Alright, I'll give you the fact that he never got the opportunity to fight back in the day. But I raised you one. There are a lot of us martial artists who aren't given opportunities. Alright, and I'm going to start that off with video 2. Because a lot of us aren't given opportunities, which is why a lot of y'all don't know who the hell we are. Alright, and most of y'all, okay. Hey, this is part 2. And this video is mostly going to specifically talk about martial arts versus the other sports and shit. So, for everybody who's like, Bruce Lee's overrated, I said, y'all didn't ask anybody that's still alive that dealt with Bruce Lee if he was real or if he was an actor. Y'all don't ask Shannon Lee, y'all don't ask the Lee family who's still thriving in the area in which they are. Y'all don't ask people who have seen him rip people a new puppet hole. Y'all don't do that. But y'all can't wait to say, oh, well, Bruce never really fought in a real fight or whatever. Alright, well, let me break this down for you. The reason why I am not known is because I'm 5'3.5". And I have been rejected by every fighting company that ever came into existence since 1993. And the main reason why I've been rejected was because I'm 5'3.5" and I weigh 120 pounds. Alright, now I'm at 125 now, and I have to stay that way because of my hip replacement. But just think about what would have happened if life would have went the way I wanted it to go, and I would have been winning fights instead of being told, get your weight up. And for months, I take weight gain 2,000, and the only damn thing I do is have diarrhea. That's me putting it nicely. That doesn't mean I can't fight. It just means that I am overlooked for 2 things. Nothing to do with my race, but my height and my weight. And so by the time the UFC in 2010 decided they're going to do 115 to 125 bantam weight people, I'm at 145 pounds and I'm Army property. And in return for joining the Army, I had to get a hip replacement. So now there's no way in hell I will ever be able to get signed for anything outside of coaching. And no one's going to give me a job at coaching. But just because I don't have a UFC championship under my belt does not mean that I can't go with the best of them. Just because I'm 5'3" does not mean I can't beat the holy living snot out of anybody on the planet. Underestimation is the leading cause of how people get defeated in the first place. When you underestimate your opponent, you wind up under the heel of their feet. Alright? Now, a lot of people don't like me because I tell the dark side of martial arts. Now, I don't tell the deep, dark, deplorable side that Rob does from McDojo Life, but I give you 99.9 on my YouTube channel.
Shout out to
and I
McDojo
tell you
Life.
the goddamn truth. Your size does not matter when you were out here. And a lot of people rely on their size. A lot of people follow all the martial artists that are great, and they tell you all that stuff. But they leave off the shit that I tell you because I tell you the truth. There'll be a third part. This is why we need our 10 minutes back. YouTube, TikTok.
TikTok.
The hardcore truth about this is that I'm going to have to take this to my YouTube channel
Here
because
we are.
TikTok has pretty much screwed us on not giving us our 10 minutes. And I don't want to make another video. So this is part 3. I'm going to try to close it up here. Alright. There's a lot of things that go into fighting. Training is one of them. Push-ups, set-ups, all that cardio. All that shit is very, very important. Alright? I am no longer allowed to do anything but push-ups. I can probably still do sit-ups. I got to get cleared with a doctor. I know I had my surgery well over 7 fucking years ago since I'm 49, and I had it when I was 42. But the problem is, I want to follow my doctor so that I don't have to get my other hip replaced before I'm fucking 60 years old. That's how bad off I had to do when carrying 300 pounds on my back every day in infantry, and how the day I don't carry that shit, and the day I don't look at my feet, I fall in a hole. I know, irrelevant, but still. I don't want to have to make a fucking 5th video that's 3 minutes long. So I'm going to take this thing to YouTube, but before I go, I'm going to point this out. If you're not training every day, if you're not following your instructions, and if you're not training after you leave the class, you can't get mad when your skills let you down. Alright? Because you're not putting enough in. As a person who's been doing martial arts since I was 7 years old and street fighting since I was 6, I'm not going to win them all. But you're going to remember me if we cross paths. And then there's the saying in which I live by, which would give me banana.
I don't have to beat you to kill you. That's the saying. We're going to take it from there. Understand something about fighting. Alright? When you guys watch me and I tell you not to do shit, it's because doing that shit can get you fucked up. When I do bound fighting, I tested it since I was a child. There are very few people who know how to fight with their hands tied. And you may see this shit in the movies because they probably had some advisor who probably grew up under the same kind of camp that I came through of, you know, learning shit that you will not ever use is better than not learning shit that you will not ever use. Because there's no guarantee in life that you will not ever use the stuff that you are being taught. Alright? You are learning martial arts. That means you are learning a system of combat that is at one time a system of combat not for self-defense, but for killing. No matter what anybody else tells you, like I said, I'm going to tell you the damn truth. And the dark side of martial arts is that it is not a sport. Alright? It is a sport in the modern world. But it was not a sport when it began. When it began, it was a system of lethal fighting techniques to do a lethal amount of damage to a lethal amount of people with minimum effort and maximum efficiency if taught properly. Now you can bring what the fuck you want on that one because everybody teaches people differently and not everybody tells you the 1000% truth, which is really quite simple. I'm only going to be able to do to you what you allow me to do to you. If you do not have the training to fight my training, then it's more than likely I got a great chance of winning. And now let me make sure you understand why I said I have a great chance of winning, not I have a great chance of not winning. I've been training for a very long time. This thing in my hand here is a lethal weapon to me. It's a comb to you. but it's a lethal weapon to me because I know what the hell I'm doing and I know how to use it in lethal ordnance combat. Now, if you didn't take this from them 3 videos, let me break it down to you in a more peaceful manner. As a martial artist, I prefer not to have weapons because I am the weapon. But when you see me do these weapons, weapons training does not hurt to have. However, in the real world, you're only really going to be carrying these weapons if you are doing tournament fighting. If you are walking down the street in any city, in any state, with a bloody katana, you're asking for a fucking problem with the cops, especially if you are a person of color. Now, I don't know all the rules and stuff, and city to city and state to state, but I do know that in Charlottesville, Virginia, I am a man of color. If I walk down the street with my bow and arrow, I'm probably going to have a problem. If I walk down the street with a katana or my nunchucks, oh, I'm not going to have a peaceful day. I just know that I'm not going to have a peaceful day. And somebody's going to call the cops. And I'm going to have to answer to the cops. And they're probably going to confiscate my weapons, which is going to hurt my feelings. Because then I'm going to have to pay to get the shit back, even though they've already been paid for in their mind. I'm going to have to pay to get the shit back, which is not fair. But because somebody thought that I was going to hurt somebody, that would be the outcome of that shit. Now, let's get down to the guts and gravy of what this video was supposed to be about. This thing came across my FYP on TikTok saying that Muhammad Ali was overrated. Alright? And again, I'm not a boxing fan. Could care 2 fucks about boxing, But I have mad respect for Muhammad Ali. Because as they say, he was the greatest. And, we're not going to go with the R. Kelly song. We're not going to do any of that unnecessary shit. But, we're going to talk real shit here. Alright? Muhammad Ali was a professional boxer. We all know that. I believe he only lost 1 time. I'm not going to swear to him. Not going to Google it. You guys can do all that shit yourself. Bruce Lee was an actor and a street fighter, according to rumors, and that he was good. In fact, the world pretty much deemed him as the best. I'm not going to say that he wasn't, because I idolized the man. He was my hero. One of many of martial artists that was my hero. Like Jim Kelly, like Chuck Jeffries, like Gary Daniels, like Ray Park, like Yin Yang Man, like the entire cast of the WMAC Masters. Alright? Some who got their name through tournaments in the Olympics, like Herb Perez, and many other champions. Alright? Now, to not sound like a complete and total hypocrite, just because you are a champion doesn't always mean that you are a great fighter. You just might have been a great fighter in that field, in that art at that time. I like to mention that for the simple fact that a lot of people who are a lot better at fighting don't get the chance to be noticed. They don't get to be seen. People don't know who the fuck they are. So don't take for the account that just because someone is a champion that they are better than everyone else. Now, in their sport, that championship means a lot. Where in the real world or outside of their sport, things come into play. Alright? So don't take this shit the wrong way. Just take it for what it is, because it is the truth. There have been people who have been champions and then got their ass kicked by people who just either really had a really good day or really could fight their ass off and never got the opportunity to showcase the world. As I said in my videos, back in 1993, I was 19, turning 20. UFC was just getting started. Nobody in the UFC was under 5'5". And if they were, I don't know who they are. Now, I know before UFC, back in the 80s, there was this thing called shoot fighting. I cannot pronounce their names, but there was a Chinese girl who was 5'3". Let me rephrase that. Let me be politically correct. There was a young Asian woman who was like 5'3" or 5'1". And she was kicking everybody's ass. There was a young Asian man who was 5'3" or 5'5", and he was beating everybody's ass. It's how shoot fighting got on the map. Now, I don't know if they were husband or wife or brother and sister, because I don't remember. But I do know they was beating everybody's ass. And no matter how big a person was, they went through them like a hot knife through butter. No problem. And you had to sign waivers to be a shoot fighter. And I really wanted to do that shit because I'm stupid. But I really wanted to do it because I wanted to test my skills. As all martial artists, we want to test our skills, especially people who don't have black belts. But know that a black belt is just that. It's a black belt. It is to hold up your pants. Your black belt only holds rank in your dojo. People don't want to hear that shit, which is why I don't have a lot of followers because don't nobody want to hear, oh, well, I got a black belt. Uh-huh. Because when people tell me I got a black belt and I tell them, uh-huh, and like, why you say it like that? I say, you have a black belt. That just means you are one of the top dogs in your dojo. That does not mean you are one of the top dogs in the entire fucking world. It just means in that dojo, in your city, in your town, that's where you top dog at. That doesn't mean you can come in my neighborhood and whoop my ass. It just means you got a black belt and you earned it without question. You cracked that board. You broke that brick. You earned that damn belt. And I ain't got nothing against that. Except for I'm against the whole entire black belt system. Especially after I learned, and thank you Rob from McDojo Life for this, that there is no such thing as having a certain degree of black belt to open up a dojo. You just need a fucking business license, which I was lied to for years. Which is why I never got a dojo, which is why nobody knows who the fuck I am, outside the fact that somebody also has my original TV series, Guardians of the Earth, somewhere in Alabama. Anyway, moving on. I was told for years that I had to be a 5th degree black belt in Charlottesville to open up a school. My sensei, who committed harikari, told me that shit. White dude. Master Jim Ennis, God rest his soul. He's the first person, or the 4th of 5 people, who straight told me to my face, you can't open a dojo without being a 5th degree black belt. You gotta be a 1st degree black belt to teach in any school. And everybody that I asked told me that same fucking shit. Now you answer this question that I'm gonna ask, because I've beaten some black belts in sparring matches. So if I can beat them in a sparring match, I know I can kick their ass in real life. But also, when I learned martial arts, I didn't learn katas, which is why I can't do katas to save my life, which is another reason why I can't earn black belts, which is why I've also been kicked out of many dojos for asking the one true question. Can I fight for my belt? And every dojo in the city of Charlottesville told me, kick rocks. We do not fight for our belts here. We break bricks, we break boards, and we choreograph a fight scene. Okay, so let's skip past the bricks and boards and let me choreograph a fight scene. And the answer's always been no. And then I sit here and I say, okay, so why is it so important that you have to do katas and break bricks and blocks where initially in Asia there were no brick breaking or no block breaking? And y'all can fact check that if you want, because it depends on the martial art. But for Kung Fu, the only time they broke down any goddamn thing like a tree limb or some shit was if they needed firewood. That's a joke. I don't know if that's true. But from what I was taught in a freestyle martial art when I first started learning karate. I learned karate first. There was no katas. This is how you punch. This is how you kick. This is your target. This is your target. Then when I learned Kung Fu, same shit. Then when I learned Kempo, same shit. But I started learning about pressure points and shit like that. When I started learning Taekwondo from Master Ernest, it was the same shit. You know, just you get new high flying moves versus Kung Fu where you're mostly grounded, and karate where it's mostly grounded, where you got this kick and that kick, versus like Taekwondo where you got like tornado kicks and shit. And yes, Kung Fu does have a jumping spinning back kick, but I learned mine from fucking Taekwondo and karate. I didn't learn it from Kung Fu. And then same thing with tornado kicks. I learned my tornado kick or my hurricane kick from a Kempo teacher, because the Taekwondo teacher, Master Ennis, would not teach me the tornado kick. So, okay, luckily for me, I was taking Kempo too, just not from him. And then the thing is, a lot of people fail to understand, and I mean this with the utmost respect. You earn your belt, I got it. But it only mean shit in the dojo. It don't mean shit when you walk out. And I bring this up. You go to school 5 days a week for martial arts. You train for an hour. When you come home, you need to train some more. Everybody's like, no, I trained that hour. Then you can't get mad if you get beat up by somebody who put in more work. You can't. It's your own fault. Because here's that thing. I went to martial arts school, but I started taking taekwondo. It was only 3 days a week. And then freestyle Saturday, but then I had to go to work. So when I got my Saturdays in, I got it in. But like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you know, I still had to go to work Friday too. So, you know, I got it in when I can get it in. And I got to do more when I quit my job at Keller's because then I had my Fridays and my Saturdays, but I had another job. So I had to work that on whatever day that was. But, you know, after I'm done training, I will carry my ass home. And I would put in 10 more minutes, 20 more minutes, another hour. And a lot of people who follow you guys on YouTube that are the hardcore, true martial artists, y'all don't tell them that shit. Oh, get your cardio in. Yeah, get that cardio in. Cardio is very important because if you can breathe and move your body, you're going to have a lot easier time fighting someone who can't. However, if you don't put that extra fucking training in, it's going to show when you really need your shit and you're gassed because, you know, you thought you was the shit. I go to school 5 days a week. I train for an hour. I go home and I sit back and eat Cheetos. Get some sleep in. Sleep is important. But when you go home from that dojo that you spent an hour at, now I get it if you have to drive an hour to the dojo and then drive an hour from the dojo, you're gonna be a little tired. So you can get a little leeway from me on that. But if that dojo is in the same city, it's just across town, it's only like 15 minutes, motherfucker, you've been there for an hour, it takes 15 minutes to get back home, you put another hour in, or at least another 15 minutes. You can put whatever else you want in, but if you don't hone in your skills, if you don't practice, you're never going to be as good as the next guy. You're not. You might be good at that person for that day, but I promise you, if you have a sparring match and you beat that guy, and he goes home and he does everything I just said, every day for the next 2 months, and you spar him again, he's going to teach you a damn good lesson. You know why? Because you went home and decided, hey, let me kick my feet up. Fuck it, I'm just going to eat Cheetos. Okay. He went home, he didn't eat no fucking Cheetos. He ate push-ups and set-ups and Russian twisters. And then he put in some more training. And for the prodigies will tell you, training don't stop when the dojo closes. Training just begins when the dojo closes. But if you're not really into martial arts for fighting, then your training stops when the dojo closes. But if you want to be a fighter about that shit, you better have your shit together, and you better go home, and you better train some more. It's the same thing motherfuckers that hit the gym will tell you. Yeah, I got personal weights at home. I'll go hard at the gym. I'll come home, and before I go to bed or before I take another shower, I'll get a couple of extra reps in. And usually the only reason why they leave the gym is because the motherfucker's closing, where they have to go to work. No, but they hit that gym. Some of them have extra weights at home, and they'll go around the house jogging in a circle. They'll run around the block. They'll have their weights. And they'll do their shit because it invigorates us. You know, I won't be training for another couple of weeks, probably until my ankle swells goes down. But at that same time, I can still train with my hands. I can still bust tiger. I can still do shit with my hands. So I can still train. I just got like some issues with my ankle. I can't do anything with my legs. My ankle is totally unrecognizable right now. Anyway, you have to put in that work if you want to get better. And now, again, because I totally deviated from the target of this video. A lot of people are always saying, like, fighters like Bruce Lee is overrated and shit. And they always doing this shit. And then, you know, they'll put, like, the current people on top of the pedestal. Okay, that's fine and dandy. But Bruce Lee also died in 1973 when I was born. He's not here to defend himself. And they aren't asking people like Jackie or Jet or Samo or people who actually dealt with him. I can't think of the Japanese guy. But they don't ask them, was Bruce Lee really that good? You know, because if they ask them, they know the answer is going to be yes. You know, it's the same thing with certain martial artists who don't train with people who are in the UFC. And sorry, I got deer skin. They always call the martial art actors or whatever who don't train with the people who do UFC phony and shit. And I said, here's the thing. All right, if by chance that I am sparring with someone from the UFC and I remember who the fuck I am and don't give a fuck about who they are because they were champions and shit like that, and they might like, I'm gonna fuck with this guy. I'm gonna see if he's as good as he think he is. Because some people do that. Understand that shit. Some people will test you to see you if you are as good as you think you are. And you may have to show them that you're better than that. A real martial artist will tell you, walk away. You have nothing to prove to them. Echo Fangrave, on the other hand, will tell you, I had an incident like this before. I told you guys about the boxing incident where the boxer was whooping my ass because he was Mike Tyson and I was just little old James. And he kept hitting me. And the more I'd hit him, the more he'd hit me. I hit him with a 2-piece, he hit me with a 3, 4, 5 combo. Because he had boxing skills and I didn't. But what he failed to understand is that I fight. I love that shit. So let's say, I'm training with somebody who's a UFC champion, a little bit bigger than me, and he's hitting me. And I'm like, yo, pull your punches. You get one. You get one. Not like the guy that was boxing me where he got 3 for each round. He got 1 for each round. And when he wouldn't stop pulling them punches and them gloves came off, my dad saved that boy's life because I was going to end it. I don't have to beat you to kill you. Understand that shit. This is the thing that people don't understand about fighting. If I'm a martial arts champion because it's how I make a living, I'm in the UFC or I'm doing wrestling or whatever, I know that when I leave that wrestling ring, I'm a normal person and I need to watch my shit. I also know that I'm not going to go around boasting and bragging and just picking fights with people because in the wrestling ring, I know that they allow me to win because I'm hot right now. In real competition, it's winner take all. In the street life, there is no person that's gonna let me tap out. No, you don't tap out in the streets. You get your shit broke. You get your shit beat. You get your ass half dead. So if we're sparring, and I tell you one time, pull your punches, and you just all out, fuck you, Echo, and I just all out, you asked for that shit. There's nothing left after that. There's just, I'm going to beat the fuck out of you because I asked you nicely to stop and you refuse. And like I said, I don't have to beat you to kill you. And the thing about most martial artists is that we are trained well enough to take your shit the fuck out. The choice is kind of yours. If you want your ass beat, that's one thing. If you want your ass handed to you in a different manner, that's a whole nother ball game. That's a whole nother ball game. But if you sitting here fixing to fuck somebody up just because you think you're a badass, understand, thinking you are a badass and knowing you are a badass are two different things. And also understand one more thing. Just because you are a badass to some people, don't mean you are a badass to others. And other people very well may be able to beat the badass out of you. So you definitely want to tread lightly when it comes to fighting. And I know I got off topic again, but there's a point to all of this as I roll back in the topic. You can be the baddest motherfucker today and have your ass kicked tomorrow. You can be the baddest motherfucker tomorrow and have your ass kicked every day thereafter. And there'll be nothing that you can do about it if you haven't put in the motherfucking training. And this is why you tell people all the time, put in that fucking work. Now, let me close with this. And hopefully you guys will respect it. And if you don't, it's good. I'm not gonna be mad if you don't. But let me close with this. Let me close with a very important statement. The people that we think are overrated, if you're not willing to get into their face and fight them, you should probably take a step back. Because just because you think somebody's overrated, don't mean that they can't beat the living fuck out you. And like I said, fighting experience will always be your best teacher. It will always be your best teacher. Because you don't know how good you are until you actually get into a real fight. You really don't. You may think you are good. You may think you are the best in the world until somebody comes along and proves that you're not. So you have to be worried about that. Don't get cocky. Don't doubt yourself, but don't get cocky. Travel that line of, can I beat this person? It's highly possible. Can this person beat me? It's highly possible. But the truth of the matter is, you're not going to know until you fight that person. Now, smart money says, I really don't want to know because I don't really want to fight anybody, especially at 49 years old. However, I also know that at 49 years old, I got a lot of years of experience and I know my way around a fight. So if I do have to fight you, I'm not fighting you for a win. I'm fighting to end your shit. And I'm going to end that shit quickly. I'm not going to play around with you and pretend like we're like fucking Power Rangers and shit. No. I'm going to do to you what needs to be done. And anything after that is not my fucking problem. Except for when I had to report to the police station. Don't pick battles that you can't win. Let that be your first rule. Rule number 2. If you gotta fight, fight to survive. Fighting for a win only works in sports competitions. Because then it's said and done. But always remember, you might be the champion today. Somebody takes the championship from you, you're not the champion anymore. And now you gotta work your way for a rematch. Or you gotta start all the way from the bottom and cut through like 13 or 15 other contenders to get there. The real life don't work like that. The real life works like this. You beat my ass today, I beat your ass tomorrow. We can squash it right there. It's 1-1. Or we can have a tiebreaker and then squash it after that. But here's how real life works. If I'm fighting you and I win, don't come back for another one. Because I'm not going to be nice the next time around. So while you're thinking Muhammad Ali and Bruce Lee are overrated and all this shit and thinking that they're phony and shit, they're not here anymore to discuss their fighting paralysis. But I'm pretty sure you're not going to be that jackass that's going to walk up to Floyd Mayweather and say, I can beat your ass. I mean, that would be a fucking kiss of death right there because he is a professional. So, I mean, he gets paid to beat people up. You know, he's a boxer. You're not going to walk up to a UFC champion. You're not going to walk up to BJ Penn and start a fucking fight. You know, that has bad idea written all over it. But there are a lot of people who think that they can do that. And to you people, good luck. But I'm also going to say this. I named some very heavy hitters. Alright? But I'm also a realist. I'm not the baddest man on the planet. And if I walk up into somebody, or if somebody walks up into me and decides, hey, Echo Fang Grey Wolf, I'm going to fuck your old ass up because I have a black belt and I know I can beat you. First, I'm going to try to talk you down. And if that doesn't work, may the chips fall where they may. And may God have mercy on your soul. Because I send warnings, not invitations, and I don't have to play nice when you approached me. Understand that shit. When you approached me to start a fight, you're guilty. And you're also over. Because I'm breaking your elbows and your kneecaps. And I'm not going to stop until you black out or until you bleed out. Because I'm fighting to survive. I'm not fighting to earn a name. I'm not fighting to prove that I'm the best. I'm fighting to make sure you know. Don't fuck with me. Period. Not every fucking sports person that's made money or that has made movies is overrated. Now, if you want to talk about underrated, look at yours truly. I'm about to end this video, but look at yours truly. I am probably the most underrated person here on YouTube. I am more than likely the world's most underrated martial artist. And the reason of that is what I said at the beginning of this video. In 1993, the UFC came out. You had email, but you didn't have Google. You had Jeeves, but you didn't have Google. And when you used the internet, it could give you hardcover addresses. I sent the UFC 5 fucking applications. They sent me 3 postcards, and each one said the same thing. Sorry, you're not what we're looking for. Get your weight up. Now, at that time, I'm going to be honest with you, because boxing has always had a 115 class, you know. So why the UFC didn't, you know, until 2010. Wrestling. Women have a light class, but men, their lightweights was 130 to 220 or 205. But martial arts didn't have that. They just had 140 and 135, which I just could not gain that weight back then. And when I got into the Army, I could gain weight because I was eating really, really well. Where when I wasn't in the Army, I wasn't eating very well. And now to maintain this 125 pounds, I eat fair, but I'm not eating well. No, and I don't eat as much bread because bread is how I got to 145. And it was all muscle, baby. And then I had to, like, when I got home, I got depressed. I got down to 135. I tried eating again, and then we found out that my bleeding ulcer was my hip. And it's like, all right, so you have to keep a maximum weight of 125 to 130. I'm pretty sure I'm 125. I hope I'm 125. I might be 130. I have been snacking on Pringles lately and some Twinkies, so I might actually have more weight than I'm supposed to. I'm actually going to get weighed soon because I'm waiting for my doctor's appointment with Mr. Lee. I think that's what they said the new doctor's name is because I don't have Dr. Sargent anymore. So whenever that appointment comes in the mail, my ass will be there. And I'm pretty sure they're going to send me for a proctology exam. Like, I really don't want to do that shit. But anyway, that being said, because that was way too much information, your weight class means nothing out here in the real world. Your black belts mean nothing out here in the real world. Your fighting experience and your skills are going to be the deciding factor in every fight that you have. And if you don't know that now, you just learned it. Now, with the UFC, I took Weight Gain 2000 from the GNC. The only damn thing I had from them was diarrhea. I ate it with 3 square meals. I took the powder, I took the tablets, I took the pills. And I burned through toilet paper. Lots of toilet paper. My asshole felt like I sat on a fucking lighter while it was still lit. Every day I did this shit. I couldn't gain weight. And people were saying, did you read the instructions? It says, drink it with a full course meal. Every full course meal. It didn't say drink it once a day. It said drink it 3 times a day. When I took the tablets, the chewable tablets is like fucking that thick. It's like, eat them with a full course meal. They prefer you to eat it before you start the meal. That way you can wash away the flavor. Then when I took the little pills, eat it before you start your full course meal. Not 10 minutes. After your meal is cooked, pop the pill, start to eat. And within moments, let's just say, there was a lot of toilet paper. A lot of toilet paper. And I just couldn't gain weight. When other fighting things came out, it was the same shit. Rec or whichever, it's like, yeah, you gotta get your weight up, son. You gotta get your weight up. Which is like fucked up. So then I get into the Army and kind of find out they have a 120-pound UFC now. And here's the thing. The reason why they didn't have such lightweight people is because the smaller guys' fights don't last long and they weren't making any money. I don't know what changed in 2010, because I was in the Army, and I know for a fucking fact that being in the Army, I gained my weight, but I was Army property, so there was no way in hell that I was gonna be able to do any damn thing. And so, that being said, I didn't know how messed up I would be by the time it was said and done. I was 140 some odd pounds. But there was no more dreams of UFC because I was Army property and there was no getting out. And then I got fucked up. Ended my career before it could begin. I fell in a goddamn hole. It does kill me every time I bring up that. So I didn't get to serve the way I wanted to serve. I'd still be serving now, but they'd be kicking my ass out because I would not be leaving. It's like y'all got to pay me to leave. But that was my family. I wanted to stay in the Army forever. The other thing, I got home, found out about the UFC, found out about my hip. It was done. It was done. Doctors were like, you can walk. Don't ride bikes. Don't run. Don't jog. Nope. None of that shit's happening. I can still jog. I can probably coast as a run, but I can't put running into my repertoire. So yeah. But they never had my weight class until I got into the Army when I was over the weight class. And that's that thing about weight class and height and all that shit. Y'all don't know who I am because I never got the chance to shine. So when you think people are overrated, look for the people that are underrated. The people that never, ever got the chance to shine. And somewhere down that line, you'll find me under the name of James Williams Jr. or under the name of Echo Fan Grey Wolf. You will find me. And I can promise you one damn thing. Also, what the fuck was it? Brandon Kramer. So, I had a couple of aliases for acting. You will understand that fighting is something that, if you're gonna do it, better do it right. Better learn everything you can. Better get well rounded. And don't think that just because somebody's underrated that they can't whoop your ass. That being said, I'm Echo Fan Grey. This is Kung Fu Africa number 2, BC and you.